Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez.
Our first order of business is Section 2.01. We have presentation of the 2022-2023 proposed operational cost center budgets by Jackie Crumrine. Ms. Crumrine, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. We're actually going to have our department administrators present the individual budgets. This evening we'll have transportation, we'll have facilities, and we'll have business office services, and then we'll have a discussion about our 5-year capital plan and where we see us moving forward. So I will turn it over to Mr. Gray and transportation. Yeah, wherever, that's fine.
Try to remember to speak into the microphone. Thank you, everyone, for having me tonight. I'm Chris Gray. I am the Director of Transportation for O&J. I see a lot of faces that I don't recognize, so I haven't had the opportunity to meet many of you in the last 2 years. Paul, I remember you. So I'll give you a brief background of the Transportation Department and kind of what we're responsible for. So currently, we transport 6,363 students to 68 additional schools beyond our public schools. So that includes charter schools, non-public schools, approved private schools, special ed placements, the tech school, and we also provide transportation for homeless students that either reside in our district or that originate from our district that reside outside of the district. So we're also responsible for that transportation as well. We are obviously one of the larger districts, probably the largest district in Chester County. We are 100 square, geographically, we are 100 square miles. So we cover quite a number of miles each year, and then we're required to transport students 10 miles beyond our district boundaries. So I see in here it says radius, which it's really not, but it's 10 miles beyond the district border in all directions. So that incorporates quite a number of schools. We go to Malvern for Malvern Prep, Villa Upper. We go north to Berks County. We go to Delaware County. We also provide transportation to students in Philadelphia, Overbrook, and Pennsylvania School for the Deaf. So I'm just really going to touch on the big changes in this year's proposed budget, or next year's proposed budget. Thank you, Frank. And I guess I'll start with fuel, only because that is kind of beyond our control right now. So each year we purchase our fuel in a consortium with the Chester County IU, which incorporates townships and other school districts in the county. Previously, I think that's on another slide, but we were paying under $2 a gallon for diesel fuel, and we were paying well under $2 a gallon for gasoline. This year's bid prices came in at, let's see, it's hard to do when you're standing up. Was it 260? 260 for diesel, and somewhere in the, there we go, I'm on the wrong page. I can't find the page. 249 for gasoline. I'm trying to flip pages and hold a microphone. I apologize. But which results in a substantial increase in our fuel prices for the upcoming school year, which again is beyond our control, but that was the bid price that we got, and I'm kind of glad we locked in when we did, because it's, if you've been to the pumps, you know. So we pay for fuel tax-free. Another substantial increase would be for the contracted carriers in general, and that is part of our contract with our contractor, GNL. I believe it was a 3.4% increase this year, which is per the contract. So again, not a lot of negotiation there. I also requested 2 additional vehicles for the upcoming school year. This would be the first increase in the number of vehicles in the last 5 years, I believe. So I'm asking for 92 buses versus the 90 we've been transporting with, only because we have quite a number of buses that are, I don't want to say overcrowded, but crowded in the West Vincent area. and we have substantial ride times for students in the French Creek area. So the majority of our buses that have ride times over 45 minutes for students reside in the French Creek and West Vincent area. And just the sheer number of students that are coming into the West Vincent containment area or attendance area has increased substantially. And a lot of those buses are either to capacity or just over. Kind of gotten away with overloading buses this year only because the number of students that don't ride due to the COVID pandemic the last 2 years. So we have quite a number of full buses in the West Vincent area and a lot of buses that have substantial ride times in the French Creek area. So my plan was to allocate a bus to either.
Can I ask questions
Sure.
as we go? Is that all right? So when you say overloaded, that means there's more kids scheduled to be on it than can
I
fit
meant
on
to say
it, but-
overcrowded. I never overload a bus. We
Right,
can't move them,
right.
but yeah,
That's-
overcrowded,
right.
sorry. Thanks for clarifying, overcrowded buses. So we're talking maybe 70 students on a 72-passenger bus, which doesn't leave a lot of room for book bags and those sort of things, projects that they bring to school throughout the school year. So I do have buses that are loaded to 72 students at the elementary level. We try to keep it around 48 or 50 for the high school secondary level, which again, we've been able to do in the last 2 years just because the number of car riders or parent drop-offs and pickups.
We're projecting that. If we don't need them, we won't add them. We're not capped by GNL regarding the number of buses. I mean, they don't say, in the contract, it doesn't say you have to contract for X number of buses. So we can control the number of buses that we use to transport students.
I have a question too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So with the extra 2 buses, is the maximum ride time still 45 minutes?
The district guideline is an hour in district. I like to keep the ride times closer to 45 minutes only because discipline issues arise once you're on the bus for more than 45 minutes to an hour. So I like to keep those, especially in a attendance area like East Vincent or East Coventry, where we don't have quite as much ground to cover. French Creek is big. If you know the French Creek attendance area, it is large. There are roads that we're not allowed to drive on. There are roads that we have to make door-side stops, so the routes can get intricate, and all that adds time. So I have a lot of buses that maybe have 30, 35 kids on there, but it takes an hour to do. So I might be able to split that up and alleviate ride times across the entire attendance area per school. Any other questions? Again, the midday is mostly early intervention and the tech shuttle. That increases at 3.4%. Liability insurance stays the same. Communications, we do very little of because most of it's online. So where we used to mail postcards, we only do that for the non-public schools. So there's a decrease there. All the communication is electronic and is available on the Student Skyward account.
I think I'd also like to mention one more thing, Mr. Gray. For other professional services, we do have a line item for a transportation study, which we are going to talk about a little bit later on the agenda.
I think that pretty much sums it up. I think I hit the big ones where the increases were. Everything else was relatively the same, or I tried to reduce in places where I could. Any questions?
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And our next presentation is from Mr. Shelgren on the facilities operational budget.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mike Shelgren, Director of Facilities. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to touch on any of the changes in the budget for next year. And then if there's any questions on any of the other, either the changes or anything else, I can touch back on those. So the first change we have is in general supplies. What that is basically the HVAC filters. With the start of COVID, we've been increasing filter changes, and we increased filter ratings on the units that we could, so that increase in cost is reflective of those changes. Meals and refreshments, that's for our in-house monthly training. During COVID, when we could not meet in person, we eliminated that, but now we're back to having our monthly meetings. So that's what those costs are. Moving down to building services, rentals, $245,000 reduction. That is the warehouse rental. So that ends June 30th, and we are no longer going to be in the warehouse. So that's a permanent change. Extermination services, kind of self-explanatory, bees, wasps, mice, that kind of thing. For some reason, we've been having an increase on calls, especially for like wasps and stuff like that, so we bumped that up a little bit. And then oil, we're doing a $58,000 reduction. It seems lately with the oil prices, there's the delta between the cost of fuel oil and natural gas is increasing. So we're pushing more towards burning natural gas where we can versus oil. So that's the change there. Next page, lawn care services. That's basically just weekly mowing, cutting, trimming, that kind of thing. And then below that, repair and maintenance. That's also related to lawn care. This year we have we're going to get caught up on a bunch of we got some tree replacements to do. We want to take care of some of the athletic fields and that kind of thing. So that's anything beyond like the weekly mowing and cutting. And down in plant services, we had a slight increase for HVAC supplies. That's just due to cost increases for parts and the like. And then and janitorial supplies, we're seeing an increase in like paper towels, hand sanitizers, that kind of thing, and soap. Plus, there's just more usage, and I don't see that usage going down anytime soon. So we did a slight increase there as well. So the bottom line is the budget this year is actually decreasing by $215,500, which is a 6.61% in decrease. Any questions?
Just a quick question on the way when you said you're replacing trees and stuff, is the reason that's not CapEx and that's expense?
We really have always included tree replacements and the maintenance of the trees. We never know how much, like if the wind's gonna blow it down. We've really just never budgeted in capital. We
Okay.
could.
Okay, it's just, okay. And then I saw you had one line, it's bottled gases. What's that?
Yeah, that's propane. Our Warwick building runs off propane, so that's what
okay.
that is.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
And Beth Polinsky will present the business services budget. Come on up, Beth.
Okay, there we go. So the business services budget comprises a bunch of miscellaneous items. The financial operations of the district and all the supplies and software that it takes to operate that, as well as the transfer to capital reserve and the transfer to debt service to fund all of our debt service payments, and the budgetary reserve. I'm just going to go over some of the highlights, and it's a little difficult following Mike because he came in with the savings and I have a big increase. However, I will explain that. So the first area, the first subtotal of the cost savings of $51,000, that's mainly attributed to our software upgrade that we did around this time last year. And it's a direct result of the efficiencies that were afforded by that. The next item and the largest item, as far as the increase goes, is the capital reserve fund transfer. Last year, you might remember that was suspended. This year, we're bringing it back, so that is a $2.39 million add. That is all but $150,000 of the total add for the business services budget completely. Debt service fund, we have a $181,000 increase there. That's directly attributed to our debt service schedule. That's the sum of all the principal and interest payments that we're required to make for 22-23. And then finally, the budget reserve is increasing by $21,000, and that is as a result of our board policy, where we are to reserve 1% of next year's expenditure budget. Are there any questions?
On the debt service, the 180, what's driving that?
That is the exact sum of our principal and interest payments that are required for 22-23.
What's the difference, though? Why is it up, I guess?
There's one, in the debt service schedules, this year was the year we had a blip, and then it levels back out again. So we have one
okay.
year that has a blip,
Yeah.
just because of the way the maturities run,
Just,
you know.
okay, timing.
It's usually about $8 million every
Yeah.
year. We try to keep it around that.
And I think it will come back down next year. I looked ahead, because I noticed that too. I looked ahead at the debt service schedule, and it's coming back down to around 7.98.
Okay.
It's just a blip, one-year blip.
Anything else?
Could you just refresh my memory, what is the percentage we transfer to capital?
It's the value of $1 million
1 mil, okay.
of real estate.
I thought it was 1%, but okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, you should have just stayed up here, but that's fine. We just have one more budget to review with you, and that is the capital plan. Frank. I think I'll start it off, and then Mike and I will kind of tag team this one. So we have a capital projects fund, and the state requires that we plan for 5 years and that we are purposefully designating our funds that are in that capital fund. The first line item is vehicle replacement. So after the large projects, East Coventry and East Vincent, were done, during that time period, we kind of let our vehicles age and we weren't cycling them because we did pay cash for those projects. So starting last year, or the year before, I think, we started rotating replacements because we have some old vehicles. We have 3 more vehicles to replace for 22-23. We have a maintenance, we have another security van that's like a 2007, and then a transportation van. Then after that, we'll be on a cycle of replacing 2 per year, just so that is a level funded vehicle replacement for the district. Technology, Paul San Francisco already presented that to you at our previous session, so I'm not going to go over that. And then building maintenance and improvement services. I'm going to turn it over to Mike. And tag team that.
Okay. Hello again. So the resilient carpet and floor repairs replacements for 22-23, that is for, we're planning for the replacement of West Vincent and the high school office carpet. Both of those are scheduled to be replaced. Going down, wastewater treatment plants, we carry that every year. That's for any kind of major equipment failures. If we have a pump or something like that go down. Same thing with well and water distribution systems. Majority of our buildings are on wells. Cafeteria table chairs replacements, we are on a rotation schedule with those. We replace those every year. Blacktop paving, cracks, sealant, and resurfacing. Again, we do that every year. That's bid through the IU. We give their quantities to the IU, and we bid countywide for the best cost on that.
Excuse me, Mike, will there be an increase on that with the increase of oil?
With the blacktop,
Yeah.
possibly. I know it's tied closely with petroleum.
Yeah.
So we actually just submitted our quantities for repairs this year, and it has not been, the bid hasn't been open, or hasn't reached a bid date yet, but we'll find out soon. I think it's due in like a couple weeks. So, and the IU will get back to us with the bid results. We'll go from there.
So would you keep your budget within that 75,000, or would you have to increase that budget if the cost goes up per unit? You'll just, are you going to pave the same amount, or are you going to pave less if you have less money?
Well, fortunately, this year, when we did our analysis of all the campuses, the repairs we need are minimal, so I expect it to be under. But it's one of those things we kind of never know, like, the wintertime really tears up the macadam. So we evaluate it, the first part of spring. And this year, it looks like the repairs will be relatively low, so I think the 75 will be fine. But going forward, we'll see what the cost is.
Thanks.
If you have any leftover, I'm going to make a suggestion down Route 23. There's a couple places. We'll talk after.
Grass athletic play field restoration, that's on a rotating schedule. That's mainly for like the elementaries. We hit one every other year. Food service equipment, that's the kitchen equipment. Again, we're just rotating through that. Feasibility study, improvements, main campus traffic. I think we're all kind of aware of what's going on there. We just got the traffic study approved at the last board meeting, so we're just getting started into that project.
Mike, I'm going to jump in here, if you don't mind. We did go back, as the board asked, and look at our priorities. And internally, we discussed it, and we are still recommending that we take a look at the middle school cafeteria expansion. Kids right now, when you tour the building, if you tour the building, you'll see, because we're going to try to hit those buildings during lunchtime, you'll see that we do have students still eating in the lounge, eating in the LGI, for lack of a better word. So the number of lunch periods, that was adjusted to accommodate the student schedule, and it is very tight. So we still are recommending that we keep that in our list of priorities in the same way that came through on the feasibility study. So the top 3 items still are, in our minds, the main campus traffic patterns, the middle school cafeteria, and the French Creek traffic pattern. So those are the items that we have funds for now to handle. Anything else, we actually would need to issue debt. So for this year moving forward, we're not recommending that. We're recommending that we handle the items that are in front of us right now, and then take a look at, maybe when the market settles down, look at that again, look at debt, and look at the future plans in the feasibility study. Okay? And just so that you know what we did here, we took the pricing that was in the feasibility study, and then by the time that was done, I've just been incrementing those costs about 3.22% a year, which is kind of the average rate of inflation over the last 4 or 5 years. I know it will probably be higher than that in the future, but that's where we are right now. Correct, that's the 300,000, and then for this year, so that we are hiring an architect and moving forward with engineering and architectural services to plan. And then for the 23-24 summer, I know you don't see a date there, but if you look in the schedule, 23-24 is when we're hoping to be able to do the main campus work and then shift over to French Creek the next summer.
Could we get maybe a breakdown next year? Cafeteria, one category, and the traffic.
Sure, I'll send you the breakdown now. We have that.
Okay.
It's just combined in the cell, but I can send
yep.
it to you now. That's not a problem.
Okay, moving on. The energy savings project at Giza, that just started. We are currently, actually right now as we speak, they're replacing the lighting in the north wing of the high school with LED lighting. They just wrapped up Warwick building, so they're here now. Probably going to be here for a little bit, and then they're moving on to the middle school and then the elementaries. And then the other part of the major part of the Giza project is the chiller plant upgrades for North Coventry and French Creek, which starts as soon as the kids let out for the summer. District-wide concrete repairs and improvements, that's sidewalks, curbs, that kind of thing. So again, it's another one of those things we evaluate in the spring, and then we do over the summer. High school media library improvement project, LGI carpet replacement. We're about ready to bring on an architect for that. So from now until next summer will be planning, bidding, and that kind of stuff. And then next summer, the actual work will take place. That's the 23, 24 number there. This summer, North Coventry and French Creek is getting a furniture replacement. District Service Center conversion, that's well on its way, and that's what's anticipated to be left. That's on schedule, and we are planning on moving in no later than, well, we're going to start moving in by the end of May, and we have to be 100% in by the end of June. That's when our lease ends at the warehouse. Showing a little further out, we have a partial middle school roof replacement in 24-25. That's for a section of roof that was not replaced when the middle school was renovated in 2008. At that time, that section of roof was in good shape, so we held off, and now it's coming due. We have in the future plan for resurfacing the tennis courts, and then we have for next year demolishing the Cadmus Roadhouse across the street on Cadmus Road. And in the security, safety and security recommendations and upgrades, I think that's for annual camera replacements, card swipes, that kind of thing. And then we are just starting a main campus camera replacement, stadium Wi-Fi and internet. That's actually, we just hired the engineer for that, so they're starting that now. We're going to put cameras down at the stadium, which we've never had before, along with Wi-Fi, have card access readers down there. They're going to increase the cameras on the main campus. The cameras here are still like the first generation cameras we've had in this building. So not only going to get camera upgrades, but increase the amount of cameras we have, upgrade to NVRs and that kind of thing. So,
Sure. And I can jump in here, and then we'll follow through with the elementary schools after we take care of the main campus. And that was in a project that was approved last year. That's coming. It's here now. The other educational services, many of these you know about, a few are new. So the high school band uniforms, they've already been ordered. The deposit has been put down. They should be coming in this summer, which is why we still have a portion of that in the budget. And the MPO is donating $10,000 towards the cost of the uniforms. So there really will be around $90,000 due for that. The batting cages, Roberts Athletic Association has approved donating the batting cages for the high school varsity baseball and softball, and the district will be installing those. So they're paying for the cost of the cages, and the district is paying for the cost of installation. There are a couple of projects that really recently came up, and just so you know, we're still working on obtaining estimates from vendors for these, but we are looking at extending the netting between north and south field for flying balls that are going between, particularly lacrosse balls, between the two fields. So we're working on getting a price for that, and we'll come back to you with that. So this is really a rough estimate that's in there right now. And then for when we took there were trees dying along really up the hill on the first baseline of the varsity field. So we had to take those trees down. We took those down maybe 2 years ago. And the flying balls are coming through now. They're not getting caught by the trees. So we're having quite a number of foul balls heading in that area and towards the bleacher area. So Mike and Randy are working with the vendor to look at extending the batting cage, or the backstop, I should say, the backstop area over to where the dugouts are, and just kind of bringing that up a bit to help catch some of those balls. So that's what we're looking at, and we're still in the process of getting pricing for that. So we'll let you know. And then we're looking at the high school weight room and upgrading that. Not a large, significant upgrade. We're not moving any walls or making any of those recommendations, but we're looking at having, and Randy did obtain a quote for this, and we are trading in some equipment just to reorganize in there and replace some of the equipment in there to make it a better environment for the students right now. That room is used by so many students. So that is where we are with the capital plan. Does anybody have any questions or other thoughts or suggestions? You know, we've met with administrators and
As far as our CapEx balance and moving over
Mm-hmm.
the 1 mil, is this is representing a no debt increase that we have a, right? So this 5-year
This-
plan, if I look out, we
Right.
have the balance in our CapEx funds plus what we're pulling over, that's what this
Correct, that's exactly
represents.
what this
Okay.
is, with a balance at the end of year 5 of about, I want to say, 3 to 5 million, depending on what we spend, by June. So all of this is funded at this point.
Just kind of curious, for that Giza project, do you have any idea what the projected cost savings is? For the Giza project, do you have any idea what the projected cost savings is for, it's upgrading, is it for upgrading all the lighting fixtures and things like that?
We do, and it varies by site.
Okay.
Some sites, like it's as early as 8 years, some are 12. I actually have the full breakdown. It's a full study we had done, and I'd be happy to share that.
Okay. We have it in board docs as well,
Yeah.
so I can really just point them
Okay.
to when we presented it and everything. So everything is out there, and we can just,
Okay, yeah,
we just point
Sure.
you in the direction of that, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, nice thing about that too is that can't go up in price, so we locked in
Right,
fixed, no,
it's all fixed.
good timing.
The weight on that was, we did that early, and it was good timing. The order lag, on the chiller equipment, that's what we've been waiting for a while. But we did lock in pricing.
Yeah, it's fortuitous.
That's all we have for this evening for the budget presentations. I think we have 2 more items that we wanted to share with you. So we have a transportation study proposal that is included in board docs. And really, that is to really look at, just to take a look at our overall operations, look at our routing, work with Chris Gray to see if there's any way to tighten up efficiencies. And we can also use them as a guide moving forward. So he'll be able to provide us with recommendations. He'll look at the buses. It's a pretty comprehensive study. They did a study, this Transportation Advisory Services, I believe is the name of the company. They most recently worked with Westchester School District when they moved to a 3-tier system. They worked with, they're independent, they're very independent. They're not a bus company or anything. They're an independent study.
So
advisory
the route
committee.
optimization as well as scenario planning and look at different types of scenario and time?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, great.
Yes. Yep. So we're looking to move that forward to the board this month, if the committee is amenable to that.
So do we need a motion to move that forward?
It would be
In other words?
great.
Okay. So do we have a motion to move forward the Transportation Advisory Services?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have one more item in there, Mr. Hermanos, for the committee, and this is bus patrol. And I am going to ask Mr. Gray to stand up and explain that a little bit, but I want to preface it by the fact that what it really is, it's adding stop arms and cameras to bus doors so that, when people are running, school bus lights, or even stop arms, and we have had that happen even on the inside, which is really scary, that the camera takes a picture of the license plate. It will automatically then take care of issuing the fines, notifying the authorities. And we've run this by the police chiefs, the bus drivers, everyone is really excited to have this happen. And if you want to speak a little bit about it,
Well, the
Chris,
best part is
that'd be great.
it costs us nothing. So I've had several conversations with the rep from Bus Patrol, and like Jackie said, they're stop arm cameras. We really concentrate on that one day a year in October, and it's Bus Safety Week. So this is an ongoing process, and there are several districts in the region that have gone this route. They're stop arm cameras, so they're activated when the bus doors open and the stop sign, not the stop arm in the front, but the stop sign comes out. So the cameras are activated by the stop sign and are triggered when a vehicle runs the bus lights. So It will take, I believe it's a front image and a rear image of the vehicle as it passes the bus. I like the idea of Bus Boss because they maintain the entire process. So they install the equipment, they process the citation, they follow up with the citation, they follow up with the police department. It's linked to a GPS so they know what jurisdiction that citation or that offense occurs in. Like I said, they manage the entire process from citation to collections. If they'll provide information for court, should it go to court. There's a breakdown of who gets what out of the citation, and I believe it is $25 to the police department. I can't remember the exact
Yeah,
breakdown, but it's split 3 ways between the police department, the school district, and bus patrol.
Correct. And that really, those funds are then used to pay off the equipment, so there's no net cost for the district. And we'll have the solicitor review the agreement before it comes to you, but we just wanted to get it in front of you and talk about it now, make sure you were amenable.
So when you say that, so the $25 portion that comes to the school district is not to the school district, used to pay down the capital that they're,
Exactly.
so they're funding the capital, they're loaning us the money for the capital, and they're taking the payback on capital through the fine.
Right, they're
Exactly.
holding it,
Yeah.
applying it towards capital, and then there's a clause in the agreement that says even if there weren't enough citations
Citations to meet
issued,
the-
we're not going to be liable for the balance of the equipment. That's the best part for me, so.
I got you.
So a couple of questions, I guess. So is this an ongoing problem in our district that we have a lot with safety, or have there been incidents?
Every day. Well, I wouldn't say every day, but frequently. There are locations in the district, 724, Route 100, 23, state highways for the most part, where, the speed limit's above 40 miles an hour, happens constantly. There are places in North Coventry where they can't afford the officer to go sit there, or the manpower. Even in Buyer Station, in homeowners associations, they just don't have the manpower to provide a police officer for us to monitor bus stop locations. So it happens frequently. Do I think there's going to be enough citations to make any kind of profit on this? I don't think so. But we'll certainly break even, that's for sure. I don't think it's a moneymaker, but the fact that we don't have to pay for it out of district funds is a benefit, just beyond the safety and security of our students.
Yeah, I think the safety and security of our students is really, really important. And then we'll run it by the solicitor. Like, how does the citation, does that come from Owen J. Roberts School District? Does it come from?
No, it comes from Bus Patrol.
Okay.
So everybody is really signing off on this. So like we said, the police departments, all of them are on board because they're not having to be there, use manpower, issue the citations. So the company of Bus Patrol is actually issuing the citations and doing.
Their legal authority will come from the municipality.
Correct.
Police departments.
Correct.
So for instance, if I do this in Buyer Station, I will get ticketed from the West Vincent Police Department. But if I
Correct.
do it outside North Coventry, my ticket will be
Correct.
issued by the North Coventry Police
Correct.
Department.
Correct.
Is there, is it like the first offense a warning, or is it you get the ticket right away? Is there going to be a public, hey, we're doing this now,
That's a
not
good question.
surprise?
We haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
There's no warning.
There
let's
can't
put
be
it
a
that
warning
way.
legally. I mean,
Okay.
it's illegal to run a bus thing, so you'd have to,
Yeah.
and you'd lose your license too. I mean, you're gonna have to do whatever the law says. So.
But we could.
But this is a new method of
actually
issuing tickets
communicate.
Right,
that
but
the
we could
public
have
might not be
communication.
aware of, you know what I mean? So I think.
Right, but
you would-
you can't change the law, though. The
No,
law, yeah, it has to
absolutely,
be within
absolutely.
that.
But I think that it would be proper for us to tell the public that we're doing this.
I do believe there should be a communication piece that goes along with it, just so district residents, or anybody really traveling through the district is aware. I know that, I believe Springford's going to do it. Penridge, maybe. There are some, Bethlehem's doing it. There's a lot of districts that are very interested in it. I think we're a little ahead than most in our immediate area, just short of Springford.
I would agree, though. We're going to need to communicate with our community. I would rather give them some forewarning. Hey, we have this new technology, we're going to be doing it, utilizing it, and then go from there. But I think it's a great idea.
Right. Like I mentioned earlier, there's School Bus Safety Week, which is 1 week in October, and it's really that Wednesday of the week that we kind of put it out there, but this is going to be every day.
Yeah, there was a nice piece in the Mercury from Springford about a year ago. And they, from what they said, they really enjoyed it and it was very helpful.
I believe it. I know her very well, and it's been successful there. Or the idea of bringing it into the district has got community support, district support. I know, speaking with the local police chiefs that cover our district, they're all on board. Chief Swiniger from West Vincent is probably the spearhead. So he's had conversations with the other districts in their county meetings and their I guess, I don't know if they're weekly or not, but I know he's been really pushing it. So we've got every local police department and the state police are on board.
Any more questions on the bus patrol? Okay, so I guess we'll need a movement to, a motion to move this to the board meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Okay. Thank you. And I think that concludes our Finance and Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting.
It does, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Do we take public comment in committee meetings? Okay, we could do a quick public comment, I guess. Questions? Okay. We've got time.
Just to be clear, this is just questions related to the Finance Committee meeting and anything on the agenda. If you have any question, you can come up.
Don't worry. Heather McCurry, East Coventry. So here's the thing, right? Where is the actual agenda for this meeting? There is no agenda here, paper agenda, so.
It's on board docs.
It's online.
Well, yeah, but you guys are supposed to have it here because we came from work, so we don't have it. So I just real quick want to say, I wish you guys would make an effort to do better because this is the only budget meeting that you've had and allowed public comment in effect to talk about the budget that I assume will be the proposed budget on April meeting to pass then. And then there's the only time that public comment, people got to comment or participate will be at the pre-agenda comment period when you only allow us 3 minutes each. So the slides were not attached on the pre-agenda on the board docs, and that's kind of weird because we talked about this several years ago and we kind of fixed that, and now it's like we're back to not even what we had pre-COVID in 2019, because we made an effort to make sure there was public comment, people could participate and ask questions, or conversely, if people don't come and ask questions, then shame on them, and then you guys can say nobody asked questions, but I'm here to ask questions. So no agenda, no comment, no slides, and there's things on this budget that I don't understand. I have not missed one meeting, and I do not understand where the middle school cafeteria was ever discussed at a meeting. So that's like 300,000. So with the 300,000, I'm confused about the capital fund compared to other things because we talked about academics. And is this money only allowed to be used for building projects that we never talked about at any meeting because you never talked about it in any meeting? So it's kind of confusing that, again, batting cages and other things that were never talked about are on here over academics. And yep, you see where Heather's going, $15,000 for an AP capstone program. So you're spending more money on batting cages and a cafeteria expansion that you never presented at any meeting rather than academics. So I wish you guys would do better. I'm kind of like asking these questions. Maybe other people will ask these questions, but the fact that there's a listening session that says academics are important, and you're turning down things that cost as little as $15,000 or $20,000 and refusing to put that in there and not having any meetings where you talk about any of these things is very disappointing. I've talked to most of you guys individually. I appreciate it. I know that you guys are new, but the people that are doing the budget and whatnot are not new. And I know that if you asked Jackie to do this, she would probably do that too. But for those of us that are paying attention, even if we're not commenting, we are watching this. The other thing is, I have never understood ever why the budget's presented and there's no actual line. There's only the estimate on the budget. So when those of us that are looking and see, why are all the computers lumped together? There's no breakout. So that gets explained when you get asked for the IT department, but when other people are looking at it, it kind of opens up for questions and comments afterwards that we don't understand where all this is going because there's no actual breakout. So again, I wish you guys would do better on that. I thank you for having this meeting tonight, Board Director Hamanis, for having this and allowing at least one meeting. But other school districts have several meetings that are public workshops so that we can come and ask questions. So just because, I mean, people are getting used to the fact that there is no public comment being allowed at these meetings. So I do appreciate that you had this meeting tonight to allow at least this to point these items out to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We want
We
to
so we can address those. So, you know,
discuss this a little.
yeah, as a committee, you can actually, and this is question, not public comment, so
Sure.
this is a little bit different. So for instance, the cafeteria project has been discussed at other committee meetings.
We mentioned that at a few meetings.
Yeah, it's
I
been
believe,
mentioned at
yeah.
a few meetings, and it's different than like capstone, which is an expense item, would be an expense budget, and operating budget, which is a different budget than what was discussed here. So they're two kind of different
Now,
things.
Ms. McCreary has mentioned this capstone project quite a lot over the last few months. Is that something that like the curriculum people have to take a look at and then make
Yeah,
recommendation on that?
it's been reviewed at multiple boards.
Okay.
And multiple versions of boards, and it's not, no one's, and it's never been recommended to move forward. But the capital project was the cafeteria for the middle school was in the middle school, was in the feasibility studies, it was
Right.
in the original cap plans. It's just a matter of what priority order they were. So this has, and this was discussed at other committee meetings. So when we're looking at the middle school cafeteria project, that was sort of part of the original budget, and then we had some discussion of whether we needed to move forward with that during COVID because of the bubble that went through. So we had discussion at the board, should we move forward, or does that still need to be a priority or not? And we asked the administration to come back and say yay, or, what do you think about it? And obviously the recommendation is, yeah, it's still an issue. It's still a bottleneck for scheduling and things like that. So they're recommending going forward with that. So just on that, I'm not sure I got all the questions. I mean, I don't know
If there's more detail on all these numbers, if we drill down into the board docs, we can get more, detail on those numbers. Is that correct, Jackie?
Sure, and we, after we present them, we release them to the public. I apologize if they're not out there right now. We'll certainly release them to the public. And there is a whole section on the Finance Department webpage where every time we meet, we post everything that we discuss. So just ask, and I'm happy to provide you with any information that you need.
Yeah, and when, like, for instance, when Paul presented, San Francisco presented the detail of this budget, then it gets rolled up in the aggregate here, and so you're seeing the aggregate of the budget, but the detail was already presented to us when Paul did his budget and talked about how many iPads, how many things, and so we saw the detail, and now you're seeing the detail rolled up. So from the public view, it's not it's just aggregating all the things into a larger bucket, but the breakdown is available online. All the detail behind everything is there. And the attachment should have been attached to the agenda tonight. So if not, we apologize, and they'll be attached right after this meeting.
All right, thanks. Anybody else want to address anything there? Okay, all right, next public comment. Question, sorry.
with Coventry Township. I came late, Jackie. Could you explain the batting cages again?
Sure. We received notification that RA, which you're a
Right.
part of, so I'm
That's what I
assuming you
wanted
know
to make
this.
sure of. That's what I
Right.
wanted to make sure of.
Exactly, that RA was donating batting cages for the varsity high school and softball fields.
Yes.
And the district is paying for the installation.
Okay, I
So
just
that
wanted to
is
make sure.
included.
That's all I wanted to
Yep.
make sure of. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome.
Do we have any online questions?
We had Mrs. Munson with her hand up, but
Oh, I'm good
Oh,
now.
there she
I'm
is.
driving. Thank you.
Yeah, I told Mrs. Munson via text we would take a short break. She's en route, so we take a short break between meetings. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that covers everything for the Finance and Grounds and Maintenance Committee meeting, so we will adjourn.
Take a short break.
All right, we'll take a 5-minute break, or a short break, and
To call the March 28th meeting of Legislative and Policy Committee to order. First up on the agenda, we have the approval of minutes from our last meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes from our last meeting? Yes. So could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second? Minutes are approved. So tonight we have a number of policy reviews and changes, number of policies up for deletion, one regulation change and a regulation deletion. So for policy review, the first one up that we have, and before that, I just want to read a quick note here that the district is in the process of combining, and stop me if you already all know this, but I just learned this. So the district is in the process of combining staff policy sections 300, 400, and 500 into one section. Some wording will be removed from the policy and moved to regulation if state, federal, and local law allows. As each policy is revised, the 400 and 500 section policies and regulations will be deleted or retired. Rich, did I say that correctly? Okay. So the first up for review is policy 306, employment of summer school staff. We have some minor revisions with this policy. Professional employees was changed to employees. The district was changed to the board, since the next wording reads the majority vote of all members. Anything else on that? Okay. So as I read through each of these, do I want to ask for a motion to move it to the full board, or we want to wait till we go through all of them and then ask?
Either way, there's not many, and they're all related to the same thing, combining them into 300.
Okay.
So you could wait till the end.
Okay, so why don't I do that? I'm just gonna, is everybody else okay with that? I'll just read through them all and then we'll vote on the end? Okay. Policy 317.1, employee misconduct. Minor revisions were made here to convert administrative, professional, and classified employee wording to employee. Policy 322, gifts. Minor revisions to convert administrative, professional, and classified employee wording to employee. Policy 323, tobacco and vaping products. Minor revisions were made to convert administrative, professional, and classified employee wording to employee. Policy 345, identification badges. Exceptions to the wearing of an ID badge based on certain job activities was added. Information on temporary ID badges was removed as it is no longer relevant. A sentence was added that states all badges must be turned in when no longer employed by the district. Policy 718, service animals in schools. The section on excluding a service animal was relocated under guidelines and additional information was added. The procedures regarding the admission of service animals to schools for students was updated, as well as adding a section for admission of service animals to the schools for employees. Additional language was added for admission of service animals to public events that the district will not inquire about the nature or extent of the individual's disability. So,
Just if I could add one more thing about these policies. We have the assistance of an associate from Fox to review these for us, to make sure that they're current, everything's legally correct, and that we're still in the legal limits of what we're asking. So these were all reviewed by attorney from Fox. And our HR director. Sorry, they're all HR related. So Kristen Smith was also able to review as well.
I just have a question. So like when I was reading through these different policies, some of them say district employees, some of them just say employee, and then some of them say district employees and contracted personnel. So why do we have such different, like those different things with each policy? So like the misconduct policy just states employee. So does that mean that anybody that works not just for the district, in the district, that falls under, or do they have their own that they follow? How does that work?
Just a second. So is the question about, I know it's about all of them, but is the first one employee misconduct your
Yes.
example?
Yeah, because we changed that to employee. It doesn't say district employee, it just states employee. And then we didn't add into, I don't believe, I didn't see anywhere added where it says contracted personnel.
Which one are you looking at with contracted personnel?
No, I'm saying it doesn't
Oh.
state that in the policy, it just says employee.
Yeah, I'm not sure why in some cases we have district employee and just employee.
Okay.
I apologize, I'm not sure.
And then what happens if they're a contracted employee?
There's a few more policies in this section that we have not moved forward for review.
Okay.
That are current, that do talk about that within. We had a review of all of the HR policies related to any kind of misconduct year and a half, 2 years ago. There's current language in there about, and I can't remember the one right off the top of my head, but there is another one that is up for review next meeting that has that in it.
Okay, great.
Yep.
If you wouldn't mind, at some time, if you wouldn't mind sending the policy number,
Yep.
that does include them.
Yeah, we have it probably 3/4 of the way edited.
Okay.
We just weren't prepared for this meeting for it, and that covers most of the very specific misconduct that we've talked about in the past.
Okay, thank you.
So April, just to follow up on that, you're specifically referring to 317.1, employee misconduct?
Yes.
Okay. So, Rich, I think when we went through, so this is actually expanding the coverage of this, if I understand, because before we're deleting out administrative and just covering like employee, right?
Employee,
And then we're adding in here educator/employee, which would cover more than just teaching.
Right. If we
staff,
added
right?
district before the employee, it'd be more consistent with the other policy changes that we have in there.
Okay.
So we could approve it with district before employee.
Does it matter?
I don't think so, but we can make it consistent through our policies. Yeah,
Yeah, we may as well try for consistency.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, it may not make a difference because a legal definition would probably conclude that an employee in a district policy was a district employee, but.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't think we meant to omit it and have any other meaning than district employee. Yeah. So we can add that.
Okay. Yeah, since it states it elsewhere, we might as well be,
Yeah.
as.
Yeah.
Or you go either way, right?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
delete district and say employee or that.
Thank you, April. Good catch.
Okay. Any other questions on the policy revisions?
Yeah, I had a question on identification badges. It looks like the old version allowed for an employee to have one free replacement throughout the course of their career. Would it be a financial hardship for us to keep that in place? It kind of seems to me like $5 or $10 over the course of one employee's employment with the district is not too much of a burden for us to take on. So I don't know what other board members think, but.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
What was
I'm
the
just going to want my
question?
money back from 2 years
We
ago.
could cover the cost
right,
for
the-
one-time replacement as opposed to having the employee cover it.
That we could allow each
$10
employee to have
replacement.
one free badge replacement before they have to pay for their replacement badge?
Which is,
So the red, just for clarification, Mrs. Munson, it says staff will be given a temporary, district will replace lost, stolen, or damaged staff at no cost for the first incident with the subsequent incident's replacement at. Well, we took that out because the current practice is when you lose it, you have to pay the $10 for a new one right away. So the question is, can we put that language back in?
It just requires tracking. It's going to require tracking.
Right.
Yeah, so you're adding a cost and a administrative burden to do it that way.
Which is probably why it was
Which
taken out the
probably why it
first
was
time.
taken out the first time. So I would say,
I mean, the language that's here is what is our current practice. That's why we took it out. And, you know, when I lost mine after 13 years, I didn't mind paying $10.
$10 worth of use out of that first one.
I think Rich still used his original picture, which I'm not really sure that was appropriate.
2 days after I lost it and paid $10, I found it in the parking lot.
Oh, figures. All right, well, if the rest of the board wants to make them pay every time, then just write me down as a softie, whatever.
So we'll just leave it as is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yep.
And if it's that much of a hardship, I'll give them the $10 myself.
Well, get that in the minutes,
Yeah,
please.
get that in the minutes.
Anything else? Okay, so I will ask for a motion to move these changes to the full board for adoption.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so those will move to the full board.
Great.
Next up, we have policy deletions. First one is policy 406, employment of summer school staff. There is no employment of summer school staff and staff policy in the 500 classified employee section. Policy, did I skip one here? Policy 409.1, supervisor-employee relationship. The language of policy 409.1 is the same as policy 309.1, that is located in the 300 employee section. Therefore, 409.1 can be deleted. Policy 509.1, supervisor-employee relationships, is the same as policy 409.1. Policy 417.1, educator misconduct, that is the same. Is that the same as another? Yeah. Policy 517.1, classified employee misconduct. Policy 422, gifts. There is no gifts policy in the 500 classified employee section. Policy 423, tobacco and vaping products. Policy 523, tobacco and vaping products. Policy 445, identification badges. And policy 545, identification badges. So is there a motion to approve those policies for deletion to the full school board?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, those will move on. Finally, we have the regulation changes. Regulation 626C, federal program. On January 1st, the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry is required by law to publish changes to the base amounts, triggering the requirement for public telephonic bids or separate bids for certain contracts or both. These changes are based on the Consumer Price Index and are published annually in the PA Bulletin. The PA state quotation threshold changed from $11,500 to $11,800, and the PA state bid threshold changed from $21,300 to $21,900. I need a motion to move that to the full board? No, okay. Regulation deletion. Regulation 409.1, assignment and transfer. Language from Regulation 409.1 is now located in Regulation 309A, which was adopted on September 27th, 2021. Are there any questions or comments related to the regulation deletions and changes? No? Going once? Twice? Okay. Any other discussion? Any comments or questions from the public?
Heather again. Okay. So I actually have another question that I would like to ask, but that question goes to the calendar for this year. And I keep forgetting to bring this up, but is there really no way that we can do anything to eliminate the last hanging half day? Because that seems really weird to me. And with the ability to do virtual or the ability to maybe do another day or take something off, because the end of the school year also, when the seniors go in disjointed, and I remember that used to be a thing. People have been a lot on cyber and everything, but kids are calling in and parents would call in and literally lie to take their kids out when they were seniors because they wouldn't want them to be marked unexcused, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really weird that the last day is a half day on a Monday. And I've actually talked to some people that work in the district, and also parents who are afraid to actually say anything. So not me, I'll talk about anything. So I really find that it's awkward that actually is on the calendar like that. And I feel like there was something that you guys could do to give that like a nice present to everybody, so that graduation comes and the people can go off on their vacations and people don't call in and make staff people have an extra day too, right? That seems really awkward to me. And it happened because of the calendar, which was a problem at the last meeting, because you don't have enough meetings to talk about it, let the public put comment in so you can think about it in an orderly fashion, and it's last minute. And then you had no snow days to take away. You didn't have the Wednesday before Easter, and you have that off. Had you had the Wednesday before Easter as a snow day, you would not need to have the last day be a half day when nobody's going to come to work. And staff people have to come in an extra day also. It does not really seem fair to everybody's mental health. But the other question that I have goes back to my normal thing that I've written you guys back and asked you guys about. When are you going to look at the fact that you are now making kids take more than double the number of health and PE credits? Pottstown and Pottsgrove have already changed their policies. They both only require 1 credit, which is per the new statute, which I sent everybody. It's really not fair to make kids pay money to take those credits so they can take academics. And it's also not fair to have kids not be able to pay to take the extra credits when they shouldn't be able to, right? So it's really not fair. Like, to have to wait makes it take, like, it shouldn't be talked about in May, because that's not going to be able to be taken effect until 2 more years now. And it's not a subject where you're eliminating jobs for like PE teachers or whatnot, because they could actually put other courses in. A couple years ago, I remember Paula Terrell came to the board meeting and she said, can we do life saving as a gym class? And everybody was like, wow, that's a good idea. But you could put in other classes like soccer ref, lacrosse ref, basketball ref. You could put in other classes that kids would probably take, but they shouldn't be forced to take the classes and then have to pay for it, right? So now is the time to change that. Just do it cold turkey, rip the Band-Aid off, and just please do something for the kids. It's kind of really weird that 2.4 credits and the state requires 1, because it's like, this is a public school and this is the public code that the school goes by, and you guys aren't following it. So Mrs. Munson actually spoke up at the last meeting and said, are we in compliance with the code? And Attorney Super said yes, but that's actually not true, because in addition to 1 credit of health and PE, the code actually says 2 credits of arts or humanities or both. And if you go to the code, the O&J Roberts policy, the O&J Roberts policy requires 0 arts or humanities or both. So this was a topic we were talking about in 2019. And again, you guys are new, but it's not fair to the kids in this district and the parents to actually have to pause another 2 years till you guys get caught up, and then there's another election, and then more people come on the board, right? It's kind of like, this is the statute, and the administrators should be working on this constantly. The administrators are not new. They know that the credits are not the same as what the statute requires. This is a public school, and you guys should be doing the right thing for the kids that are here. Again, academics over, not over other things, like batting cages are important, but academics were number 3, at least, on the listening session. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
We do have one person on Zoom.
Okay.
Dana Ciafone. Please state your full name and township of residence.
Dana Chaffone, East Vincent Township. I just had a question about the misconduct policy. There is reference to the Title IX policy within misconduct. So I'm wondering who that's directed to. I think we want to make sure that we remove all obstacles to reporting of these types of incidents. That was made clear, coming out of the third-party review that was done by Ms. Hodge. So I'm reading this and it's saying that if it's determined that the incident also constitutes harassment and or discrimination, that a Title IX report would have to be filed. So I'm concerned because I feel like someone has to make some sort of determination on harassment or discrimination as opposed to just automatically saying, let's file this in both cases, and then we'll, sort out the details. I don't think we want the child or the victim or their caregiver to have to figure out, sort of follow a flow chart to figure out, is this Title IX or is it just a misconduct report? Or I'm sorry, I think there's an act something or other report. I don't have it in front of me, but if you could just clarify, what's the Title IX portion of that policy directed to, and how do those that are, the victim supposed to sort through all that?
Yeah, Rich, can you, yeah.
So to answer your question, the Title IX process has been, we've had extensive training on the administrative team, and there's a Title IX coordinator, who's also our HR director. Any and all thought to be harassment, discrimination, anything that would come up goes automatically to our Title IX coordinator to review. The process then becomes that a separate person becomes the investigator, and we also consult with our attorney, who then reviews all the investigation notes, all the claims, and then there's a decider determined who's an attorney to see if it's actually a Title IX discrimination case. Now, there's a Title IX case, which would be gender-based sexual harassment or sexual assault, et cetera. There's also in the policy a non-Title IX discrimination. So if there was racial discrimination or any other gender, religion discrimination as well. And that again would be decided by a separate attorney that reviews all the administrative notes. So the flow is very specific. The Title IX regulations have changed 2 years ago, and the district's had extensive training, and the Title IX coordinator make sure that all those steps are followed.
Just to follow up, to clarify, it doesn't require the, victim or the parents or anything to do anything different. This is just all this reflects is just how once something is become aware by the administration, how it's handled. It doesn't require putting any additional burden on anybody in the district as a student or a parent.
Now, in fact, the Title IX coordinator works directly with the parents and students to make sure the whole process is easily explained, supported, documented, et cetera.
And I would just add, Mr. Friel, that there are times where we're doing Title IX investigations that are independent of a criminal investigation that's going on as well. So they're separate processes. So I just want to be clear on that. So not every criminal case becomes a Title IX, nor does every Title IX incident that we involve become a criminal matter, but sometimes we're running them concurrently. Sometimes there's a criminal investigation going on, and we're doing a Title IX investigation as well. But it does not slip through the cracks.
She has her hand up again. Let me ask her to unmute.
Sorry, say that again?
She has her hand up again.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that. But yeah, that's what I was looking for. I just don't want the burden. That's exactly the word, perfect word. I don't want the burden placed back on the child, the caregiver, whatever. They should just know what to do. They know where to file the report. Let administration, I'm very much aware of Title IX and the new process that was put in place. But I just want to make sure that burden is not in any way shifted to, the victim or the caregiver to try to figure that out. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Do we educate our students around all that in terms of their rights in the reporting process and all that?
Yes.
Okay. Just getting back to the half-day, I'm sorry, sorry, did you have a question?
No, go ahead. I'll wait.
I just want to, Dr. Stout, would you be able to address where we are with the snow days right now and the half-day on that Monday at the end of the year?
Sure, just taking a look at our calendar and, when we were looking at it here tonight. So we don't have snow days built into our calendar for this year. So when we have a day that we don't have school, and unfortunately this year, we have not used a snow day this year. I'm going to knock on wood somewhere. What we used was a hurricane day. So we were not equipped at that point, the hurricane day, to try and make it a flexible instructional day. So that is the one day that was added to the school year. And because we did not embed any snow makeup days into the calendar, we do have to have that extra day moving into the Monday of that last week.
I have Colleen Blute, North Coventry, East Coventry. I have 2 bits of information for you. First of all, 1.0 or 1 credit for phys ed is at Downingtown Area School District. It is at Pottsgrove, it is at Pottstown, and it is at those 5. They also have at Plymouth Whitemarsh 2 credits in humanities. Methacton has 2 credits in humanities. Great Valley has 0.75 in arts and humanities. Oxford has 1 credit in humanities. Pottsgrove has 2 credits in arts and humanities. And Pottstown has 1 credit in arts and humanities. I'm not sure what Twin Valley has. They have an elective of 6 credits. That's just a little bit, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. It has to do with a policy called equity and equality. I'm very worried about this. I'm concerned about it. You all know what my definition of equality is. You all know what my definition of equity is. But the important word in there is an opportunity. It doesn't matter who you are, how rich you are, how not rich you are, what race you are, what religion you are. You have to be given equal opportunities that meet your needs. But unfortunately, Owen J. Roberts is not there yet. Young children, regardless of who they are, what they are, they learn through attitudes, they learn their skills through strong and deliberate role modeling. You all have to do it. As school board members, you may be saying you're talking about equity and equality, but you're not acting it. And how you're not acting it is there are 9 board members here with a 4-5 gender ratio. Both the president and vice president are of the same gender. How is that equality and equity? Not a good model for the students and community of Owen J. Roberts. I'm sure that all 9 members of the board, regardless of their gender, are qualified for these positions. And I know for a fact that they all are, with the exception of 1 or 2. Yet there's not equality and equity on this board administration. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You're confusing the community, you're confusing the students. My suggestion to all of you is fix it. Because when you speak about equity and equality, you as a board are not good role models for our students. So then why should the students respect and adhere to the policy that you create? You need to take a real close look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions, comments, discussion before I move for adjournment?
I guess I'm just looking at the requirements for graduation. It says we are requiring 8.6 elective credits, and I'm wondering if it is possible to put together 8.6 elective credits that would not include 2 arts and humanities credits, because it does seem to me like the majority of students are probably naturally fitting arts and humanities into their electives. Is that a bad assumption, or is that a valid assumption?
Dr. Soder just explained it's my meeting, so I should answer your question.
Thanks.
I'm not sure I understand. There's 8.6 elective credits. Can they not take any humanities
Yeah,
as part of
so
those electives? They can
it-
take anything they want as part of those
Right.
electives. And
So
some-
if the state policies have changed and they're now requiring 2 credits of arts and humanities, and our policy is intended to cover that in the electives, I'm not sure that I see where we have to pull out arts and humanities and call it something separate from electives.
I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a way for a student not, like, is there a path for a student not to take 2 credits of arts and humanities based on just having the electives?
So all math, like 8
There should be.
courses worth of math? Or
Yeah, in
something?
theory, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to take a careful look, but in theory, yes.
There's another question? Okay.
Hunter Emery, you should be unmuted. Please state your full name and township of residence.
Hello, my name is Hunter Emery. I'm a resident of North Coventry. You talked about how you teach students how to use like the reporting software, I think. To my knowledge, from the almost entire school year I've had at the high school, we've never been taught that.
I'm sorry, is this specifically related to the Title IX?
I think so.
Okay.
I believe one of you asked whether it was taught to the students. And as a student, I don't think I've ever been taught that.
So the question that came up was, are the students aware that they should report this to someone in the school, safe to say, a number of different venues to report any kind of harassment or discrimination. We go over it from grades 2 to 12 at various times, assemblies in the beginning of the year, things like that. So Hunter, to answer your question, the safe to say, there's been presentations over the course of, the last couple of years about safe to say, where you can go online and anonymously give a tip. You can go to a teacher, counselor, assistant principal. I think that was the question. Are students aware that they can report incidents of harassment or discrimination?
Yeah, that
And
was
I
my
said-
question.
And
so,
I said yes.
Yeah. Under those various avenues.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Hunter, if there was any confusion.
Okay, it's fine.
Thank you. Is that it? Is that everything? Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second. Great. LMP is adjourned. Thank you.